Hour.
All right. Well, hello and welcome to the Horror Hour. It's a place where we discuss, debate, and disagree on all things horror. I'm one of the co-hosts here, Yutaka, and today I'm joined with Liam.
Hello.
And George.
Hi.
And today we are joined with the Curse of Aurore director, producer, and writer, Mehran Torgoley. I should have asked how to pronounce that last name. And
well, that was good.
And actor, writer, producer, Llana Barron.
Hello.
So first off, we're all excited to have you all here. So thank you for joining.
Yeah, excited to be here.
One of the first questions with the film, just because of it being found footage, being a spooky flick, did you all encounter any type of paranormal stuff while filming this? Because the film creeped me out and I was like, oh, the sounds, the noises. I wanted to know how much was, real or maybe just you happened to pick up.
Well, there were a couple of things. Let me start by saying I'm basically a doubter in general of anything like this. I have fun with the whole thing, but that's not to say unexplained things didn't happen. There was one time when I was in bed. We all were staying in the house that most of the film takes place in. I was staying just across from the pink room that's featured in the film. And there was one morning when we were off and there were two doors that faced each other. And I'm like, my bed faced one of the doors. And one morning I heard the door just on the other side creep open. And Minna, our producer, was actually staying in that room. And I heard her walk down the stairs. But I don't think it was as many stairs. Like it was maybe like 5 stairs I heard, but there's at least 15 stairs going down. And then I was like, okay, I guess Minna's up early. And then maybe 5 minutes or at some point after that, a couple minutes after that, then my door just creaked open and I could see that the door across the way was still closed. And I was like, that's interesting. I heard her open her door, but not close it. And then her door opens and she walks out and sees me and says, didn't you just walk down the stairs? I said, no, I didn't walk down the stairs. I thought you walked down the stairs. Got all the goosebumps. That's the closest I got. Lana has some good ones herself.
Whew.
So that house has actually been in my family, like just like my character in the film. It's been in my family for a long time, which is why we wanted to shoot there. And I have my aunts. My mom has 8 brothers and sisters, and a few of her sisters refuse to sleep in one of the rooms up there. It's actually the room where Kevin's character picks to be hit with the groovy boo lamp.
Oh, that's the room I was in. That's the haunted room.
That's the room you were sleeping in.
Oh my God.
They refuse to sleep in that room, and they say that multiple times they have felt something pulling the covers from by their feet at night when they sleep. So my family has this whole thing about this house being haunted. Like the basement, the rosary that hangs down there actually has been hanging down there for God knows how long. And it's one of those like, why? Oh, because obviously haunted. Like there's only one reason you hang a rosary. But one of the cool things that happened on set was we made I guess sort of an animatronic crosses for spinning on the wall. We have a friend who's an engineer, and using a really cool beefed up remote control and servos. Sorry about my dog. Servos that he put inside the cross. We could like remote control operate the spinning cross. Hold on, Ringo. Anyway, so it was very cool. And one night at 4 a.m., I'm sleeping downstairs because I had a real injured knee and I couldn't really get up the stairs. So I'm sleeping downstairs and I hear this like rubbing really fast against the wall. And one of the animatronic crosses was on the wall right outside my room. And it's 4 a.m. and I'm like, okay, someone on my crew is fucking with me. That's awesome. I appreciate that. I get up and with my cane and I like hobble out. And it actually wasn't a cross. It was we had put those servos in the back of a photo, an old photo of my grandfather and his father, so my great grandfather. That thing was spinning like crazy by itself at 4 a.m. And I'm like, oh, why? Oh my God, like this is not cool. And I go to where the remote is, and our friend who built it, he had a hard shell case zipped up. this thing was put away, turned off, and in the case. So I'm like unzipping the case to see like, did it switch on? Did we accidentally leave it on before we put it in the case? It's off. There's no lights like on the little device. And I actually feel I have a little video because I, of course, filmmaker, I pulled out my phone and I was like, and I like shoot the wall and I shoot the remote and I'm like, and I shoot my hands like, see, I'm not doing it, people. And then it just stopped. And so I was like, and I don't know why, but I decided to hobble upstairs, even though I could hardly do it, wake up Mehran and tell him that this house is really haunted and that I'm actually really scared. And he was like pretty groggy, but he ended up kind of being like, well, there's an explanation for this. See, because those kinds of remote controls are radio frequency, whatever. They can pick up frequencies from other radios, and maybe it just started picking up a frequency and going on its own. And I was like, fuck you, man. This is real. This is real.
I'm just trying to sleep. That's it.
I mean, I'm a believer. I buy all of it. I believe that maybe my relatives were like, hey, maybe don't pull out that Bible with your actual great grandmother's hair in it and put it in the film.
Yeah.
Like maybe they were mad at me while I was shooting the film.
That was all real?
That's all real.
Oh my God. I would have hopped. I'd like, book me in the next hotel. Get me the hell out of this house. Oh my God. That was so creepy.
It's so creepy.
Yeah. It was sort of scripted. It was the closet tour was scripted, but Judy his name is Jordan, who plays Kevin, but he goes by Judy. He found that book and like, he just wanted to roll with it. And so we let him. I didn't say a word. And then, when he opens it up, some of that reaction is very real. And I'm like, yeah, that's and I still don't know why they have her hair in a bag in a weird Bible box. I don't know. Again, I think there's some weird stuff going on at that house. So yeah.
I can't wait to watch this again, just to rewatch these reactions because, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't recall if we used the first take when he opened it up.
We may not have, but it's still pretty fresh. I mean, that was like I said, it was only partially scripted and not that Bible. So it was just cool. We had a lot of really fun stuff there to work with that was already really creepy on its own. So the house kind of was calling for a movie to be made there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good times.
I love it.
So with regards to this movie, obviously we know that the movie's subject matter is based on obviously a real event from history. So what was it that made you tell the story in this way?
So when you say tell the story in this way, you're saying connecting to an old story or to tell it?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
yeah, like the way like you connected it.
Yeah. So basically Llana, like she said, her family is from that area. And over the years, she's kind of been bugging me to make a movie up there. She's like, we have this house, it'll be great. And Llana loves all things horror. And she wanted to make a horror film up there. And I was game with the idea, but we didn't really have a subject matter. And at some point, I'm not exactly sure when along the way, Llana starts talking about the legend of the martyr of Aurore, which is not something I knew anything about. Actually, Llana, you could sort of take that from there as to why we...
Yeah, sorry. My dogs are... I've made them leave the room, so hopefully they won't be barking as they're still kind of in the distance. I apologize. So I had shown him the location, like through pictures and some videos I had taken. Like he said, I've always wanted to film something there. And so I was actually looking to see if there was an interesting story locally anyway, that could be made into some plot for a movie. And when I found out about Aurore, it was like this big rabbit hole. I just kept on. I actually read like the court proceeding transcripts, which are in French translated to English. Like it's some crazy stuff that happened in 1920 with this little girl. But it was just such an eerie, sad story. It's been depicted in a couple of other films, one in the 1950s and another one I think in like
early 2000s,
10 or something. Yeah, made in Quebec. So they are French. I think that the more recent one, you can actually watch in multiple parts on YouTube with English subtitles if you're interested. Mm-hmm. And that's like the actual like sad what actually happened in Aurore's.
It's a very dramatic, very melodramatic. Yeah. It's like pretty awful. I mean, the movie's good, but the story is terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. So we didn't really want to retell. Her story has been retold there many times. And so we weren't really looking to do that. But I just thought maybe there's something here that could inspire a haunting, you know, and we'll make a story about that. And so I went to the graveyard, which is, it's the town next to the town where my family's house is. And I was there with one of my aunts, and we were in the graveyard, and I saw her grave, and it's still covered with toys. I mean, the people there really do view her as a martyr, and it's like going to John Lennon's Strawberry Fields Memorial in New York. Like, the people are always bringing stuff, and it all gave me the feels. And so I was like, you know, I think that maybe there's something here. And ultimately, Mehran and I couldn't really agree on a story we wanted to tell. And
it wasn't my story to tell, was the whole thing. Like, the idea of telling the story of Aurore, it would be disrespectful for me to tell that story.
Right.
But
yeah, so we just weren't really sure how we wanted to do it. We were never intending on doing found footage, actually, until Mehran said, you know, this might be better if we just kind of make it about us and our trials and tribulations as filmmakers, trying to make a movie that they haven't agreed upon what they're making yet, and all this shit sort of starts happening, and you know, tying it in, obviously they're being haunted by Aurore from the next town over because they're digging, you know, wouldn't that be an interesting premise? And so the characters are all loosely based on myself, Mehran, and our producer Kevin, who's been working with us, real name is Kevin, for a really long time. We've been, you know, struggling filmmakers together in this for a while. And so it was actually kind of easy to write some of our real arguments from life. And then the times when we're like chilling and maybe smoking a little weed and like, what, you know, like when we're just having fun and like going on location scouting adventures. But then inserting like, what if everything starts to go wrong because we're doing this? So we really wanted to make something that we could sell. Like, we just really wanted to get a movie out there and do it kind of quickly. And so we just decided, you know what, let's go for the found footage medium. It wasn't our preference. I
didn't want to make a found footage movie, but I thought this was also the right way to tell this story. I didn't think it would have been as good if it wouldn't have been, people wouldn't have bought it in the same way. I don't think it would have had the same connection if it wasn't found footage.
Well, that's interesting because I'm a huge found footage horror fan. Like, it's my favorite genre.
Awesome.
Like, I'm obsessed with it, and it's my goal one day is to make a found footage film. And we watched this as part of the Unnamed Footage Festival. And you've sort of answered the question a bit there, but of the state of, you know, was this always intended to be a found footage book? So what was the exact? Was there ever a point at the beginning when you thought we're going to shoot this as a?
Oh, for me, yeah, as a found footage, basically it was. There was this conversation. Llana was actually traveling up to Quebec because her mom was up there and had broken her foot, and you had to like drive her back. So we're having this long conversation on the phone where we're talking about the frustrations with getting distribution and getting films made from before. At the same time, she's pitching ideas to me about shooting up there. It could be a horror film. It's beautiful. And again, like I said, we couldn't agree on the thing. And it was this idea that I just said, let's write ourselves into it. And we're basically writing the struggle. And as we thought about it, thought through it, I remember for me, I was basically picturing Llana at the airport, and I was sort of picturing some of these scenes, and I was thinking about ways to shoot it that felt, I mean, it was a movie, which I don't know if you remember this, Llana, a movie called Like Crazy, which was not a found footage movie, but it was shot, they essentially stole a lot of shots where what they would do is they would go to like Santa Monica Beach, and they were shooting on long lenses, and they mic'd up people, and they were stealing shots in places where they didn't have permission to shoot. And it was sort of roughly chopped together. It's a really good movie with Anton Yelchin and I can't remember the actress's name. She's from Rogue One. Oh, Felicity Jones. It's like a love story thing. It's a very good movie. From about 10 years ago. It won a Sundance Award or something, but it's very roughly chopped together. And it's not found footage, but it has this, like, there's like a layer of reality to it that's there, that films have this kind of patina of the beauty of film. And as I was picturing this and wanting to shoot it this way, it just seemed like really the right way to tell this story would be to sort of remove the magic of Hollywood from it and make it feel as real as possible. And again, the other limitation that Llana and I have is we're not known faces yet. I mean, it would be her face more on screen. It's obviously a great face, but people don't know it. So doing a horror film like that, people would attach to it more. It's actually, to me, it's scarier to watch a found footage film because you're kind of like, maybe that happened. Whereas if it was Jennifer Aniston in the role, you know it didn't happen right away. There's this artificial thing, right?
Yeah.
So, yes.
I don't know what you mean. I believe everything Jennifer Aniston does.
Yeah. So kind of a longer answer, but yes,
Yeah,
it's
it sort of
pretty early.
morphed into it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't initially, we didn't say we're going to do a found footage horror movie, but when we considered the story we wanted to tell and the budget we had or didn't have, that it seemed like the most practical way to get our vision out and hopefully distributed worldwide, which was our goal, and we did. So we're very happy about that.
I mean, it was definitely, you know, George and I watched a lot of found footage from that festival, which was at times great and at times, but this was definitely one of the highlights. I really enjoyed it. And just hearing now that this house is actually real, wasn't a set, that creeps me out a little more.
That basement is really the basement.
That basement was terrifying. I don't know how you guys went down there.
Yeah. You haven't met Llana. She's just, you know, is there haunted or something? If it says get out,
if it's spooky, like I literally, like, all of my fear mechanisms just disappear, and I'm like, I will go to there now. I must see it. Like I've like stuck my head in a bear cave, and my poor husband is like, you are going to die a horrible death because you have no sense of fear. But it's like, I just love to investigate. I want to see, like, I need to know.
With that first walkthrough, where, you know, when you had some of the ghosts pop up, did you know that you were going to have that place throughout, which I did love, but just kind of adding to the creep factor of just, I mean, the house alone kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies, but just adding that, I was just curious if that was, you know, planned or...
Yeah, so the quick answer, so as you can tell from the movie, the actors themselves are actually operating the camera about 80% of the time. I'm operating the camera a little bit, but generally that's for handoffs. But it was all, like, the shots are all very, very designed. Like, everything we're doing, we spent a lot of time. We essentially, it's almost like every scene in the movie, we had roughly like a day to shoot, and each one was like a mini play. So I definitely had the plan to insert things into the background. But there were times when, I mean, there's definitely shots where we placed the camera a certain way, and I knew I wanted enough negative space so that I could do something with a window or with something in post. But there's other times when the actors might have just walked in and moved the camera over here, and I was like, oh, wait, there's a nice space where I could place a ghost there. So in post, I went through, and Llana and I talked about it. We're like, well, this would be a fun place for us to plant something. And I really wanted them to be as, like, sort of subliminal as possible, because there are a lot of people that don't see any of the ghosts at all. And then there are other people that come at us and are like, oh my God, it's so obvious. Like, there's ghosts everywhere. And I'm like, so we definitely played with the idea of what's too much, you know, flickering lights so that to draw your attention. All of that stuff was, we spent a lot of time, like, putting a lot of stuff together.
There was a lot of practical effect ghosts as well, like that we actually staged, and Mehran did some really cool camera tricks to, you know, make them appear, and that was really fun. We had our producer Minna jumped in we dressed her as Aurore, and, you know, ghost Aurore, and we had her, you know, in the mirror, and she's like ducking in the stairway and then like slowly popping up, and you just get this like little bit from behind. And you know, those kinds of things were really fun, because we all knew what was happening behind us, that we were supposed to just pretend as if it wasn't there. And then we would watch the footage at the end of the take and be like, she's there. Yeah. Like, it's so creepy.
What you said about the walkthrough. So what's interesting is, so Llana had done a walkthrough for me and Kevin via Zoom when she was up there a few months before we shot anything. And then when we got there, me, Llana, and Kevin had gone up there to do then a scouting trip. And we walked through, and you said that the basement creeped you out. So Llana drags us down to that basement because she's like, we should sort of recreate this seance thing. And what's amazing is her aunt is with us, who lives in the house now. And we had done we did the seance, we set up the candles, and I'm behind the camera because we don't have the actors there at all. And there's actually, like, we have some video where it's Llana and the real Kevin are sitting there with a candle going, and Llana is like pretending this thing. And then Llana delivers the line, is there a presence in this house? And unbeknownst to them, I very carefully, and Lana's got her eyes closed, she's totally in the moment, I blow some air towards the candle, which caused it to flicker, which Kevin and Llana don't hear. And Kevin doesn't notice me doing it, but he's looking at the candle and he freaks out for real. And you could see his real reaction on camera where he's like, he looks right at the camera. Did you see that? So Llana didn't see any of this. So afterwards, we'd go upstairs. Oh, Llana, we lost you.
So I should unmute myself before
Yes,
I
you
talk.
should. I see you're emoting everywhere. Yeah.
The seance scene, we adjusted,
You
we
rewrote it
rewrote
after.
after we did that screen test
Yeah.
because of Kevin's reaction.
Because of
We were
Kevin's
like,
reaction.
Kevin, the character has to react like that on the day of.
And we showed it
So
to the actor, showed it to Jordan. Yeah.
Yeah, like it wasn't supposed, the candle wasn't supposed to flicker. That was never in the original script. It's just because Mehran had done that and we all thought it was real. I mean, Kevin and I like come running up from the stairs.
So we came upstairs, we looked at the video that I had just recorded, and you and your aunt are watching it. And I think you got up and started running around the room. I told you this place was haunted. Look at this.
I did. I was sure it was proof, and it was such a thing. And so we were like, okay, once Mehran finally revealed himself as a fraud that blew on that candle. Then with the three of us, we were writing this bit into the film.
And the
We're
first
gonna-
thing
we
was
had-
like, look,
we got one of those.
everywhere.
Yeah, we bought one of those like fire snuffing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, so that somebody off screen could actually do that and make the candle flicker when we actually did it for the film. And so there was definitely a lot of stuff that, like, when we went for our location scouting trip, we ended up writing into the script because we were like, these are good moments and we should definitely have this. So
We didn't do one where Llana just decided to walk into a festering cornfield and freak out Kevin and I at one point and just disappeared for, I don't know, 10 minutes.
I had you guys really scared though. So I win.
I love that.
Oh my God.
The worst.
Oh my God, that's great. So obviously you've said that the house is in your family, and obviously that all part is real. So with the other locations, do they all have some sort of connection to the actual events?
The
Yes,
real grave,
some.
like you said. Yeah.
The graveyard is the graveyard. That is Aurore's actual grave, and her family is buried there.
That actually is Gagnon's father's grave. Like when he goes there, he's like, oh,
right.
you know,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
actually the real grave.
Right. The exterior and interior church are actually not the same church where Aurore is, where that graveyard is. That's actually a different church.
Yeah, we swapped the church
in the town where my family's house is. And the reason for that was the mayor of Saint Sophie, which is the town where our family's house is. He was super awesome when we told him we were shooting, and he wanted to help us. And this is like 500 people in this town, right? This is really small. And so he wanted to assist us in any way possible. He owns the key to the church.
Right,
was
well, the
like,
church
you guys,
is consecrated also. It's like a cultural center now. So that made it
it's
much
become
easier
a cultural center, yeah.
Right.
So he
The
was
old
like,
one
why
is-
don't you guys...
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so he was like, why don't you guys film in our church, and you can use the exterior shots, and you can say it's that church. No one's going to know, of course,
Right.
It's movie magic. So the interior is actually a different church. The house that we chose to be the Aurore Gagnon house is not related. That's actually the mayor's brother's house. We actually, our location for Aurore's house fell through at the last minute, and the mayor was like, I got more keys to more buildings. Come on.
And actually, it was so much better.
It was really
also,
awesome.
too.
He's actually the one at the very end holding the head of Kevin. He's
Yes.
a cultist.
That's the mayor of the town.
He wanted
I
to
love
be-
it.
He wanted to
Oh my
be in the
God,
film. Yeah, we were like, you could totally be in the film. And then at the end, we're like, do you want to be the one holding the head? He's like, as mayor, yes. Yes, I do want to be the one holding this head.
Mayor of Murder Town,
Mayor of Murder Town.
Yeah.
So that was not the real Gagnon house does exist. We actually drove by it. I was told by locals that it's been completely redone on the inside, so it doesn't even look like old at all. So I don't know if it would have worked aesthetically, but we also didn't really want to get too involved in the Gagnon family.
Right.
It's a sensitive topic, and we just had to tread lightly while we were there and be as respectful as possible. We really didn't want to shake anything up. This is an important part of the local history, and everybody that we worked with that lived in that area was incredibly supportive and just amazing to work with, but we didn't want to overstep And so we had permission to shoot at Aurore's grave. In fact, the church ladies who like run the Aurore Gagnon like historic museum, which they actually have in the back of their church, they were kind enough to even, rearrange, make sure the toys all looked good around her grave and things like that. So we had a lot of support while we were there. By
the way,
I don't think there are any other locations that are like pertinent to the Gagnon story.
Yeah, I was saying, it just occurred to me how weird it is that Telesphore Gagnon, her father, who abused Aurore, is buried in the same cemetery. Like, it never really occurred to me how weird that is.
It is a little bit.
But
weird.
they're buried a few hundred feet away from each other.
Oh.
And yeah.
Blood is blood, man.
Oh,
It was the olden days.
It's true.
Yeah.
They did weird things.
Right. They had a lot of kids.
Very, very Catholic too. Like everyone there is Catholic, and everyone had lots and lots of babies. Like my mom comes from 8, so it's kind of the landscape up there.
I think it's the landscape everywhere. I think my gran had like 9 siblings.
Okay, wow.
Jesus. Who has the time?
Seriously.
I know. I love that you say your gran. Oh.
Grand.
Non-American accents are so much better. I hate the way
Always.
Americans talk. I'm like,
Sorry.
We're so uncivilized. Like grandma, like, but Gren, like it's just lovely. Like it makes me just, I don't know, see flowers and tea and just.
I don't know.
Nice.
I like to think that the British think of us the same way. They're like, look at how nice it is. He called his grandfather his pet.
We're a bunch of uncivilized cowboys, and you know it.
I had Nana and Rara, so I don't know what
that's
y'all are
cute.
talking about.
That's
Yeah,
cute.
see, Nana's cute.
That's cute.
And as a British person, I call her Nan, so that's not as
Nan.
civilized.
Nan.
Yeah.
I
You see?
like that. It's very
Cute, though.
sweet.
I feel like this whole interview sort of been basically like hyping up your auntie's house, and I'm going to go back to it because I was obsessed with the house the moment we entered it. I literally said like I have a thing about, I'm obsessed with like real estate anyway, and especially in movies. And apart from Sydney's isolated house in Scream 3, this house is my second favorite house in a film because my dream, I live in London, but my dream is to live somewhere like that is completely isolated in an old like house that's so old, and like so
You should go and visit the town. They could really use the tourism. It's awesome. I wish people would do that.
Honestly, if your auntie ever wants to, I will pay us for an Airbnb to go and stay there.
Well,
I think you can arrange that, Llana.
My auntie, as you say, I love that. My auntie, she does live there, but my mom actually owns the house. So she
wait,
rents from
FYI, her auntie is the woman that yells at the characters in the supermarket. She's the one.
Oh, really?
She's holding a baguette. And she's
Yes.
That's my auntie.
Yes.
And her name is Louisette Paquin. She's
Lulu.
French Canadian. Lulu, we call her. And actually, my uncle played the priest. So we kind of went up there, and I was like, "Hey, family, what's up? You're in my movie. Like, you don't get a choice." And they had never acted before, but thankfully, I come from a very dramatic family, and so they were actually like, it worked. It worked. I was very happy with their performance.
I like to say the directing was done well.
Well, we'll give you some credit. Sure, he was all right. I like to say it was genetics. It didn't have anything to do with the director.
Nothing at all.
But yeah, so I love that house.
Yeah,
well,
George was like, I want to move there.
Wow.
If you ever do want to go up there, if you're ever in that region of Canada, let me know, and you could. I'll very least you can get a tour of it. My shoe would be
Absolutely.
happy to-
I'll find my way there. It's not like to that part of Canada. It's fine. Don't worry.
George, you're gonna have to at least let us know when you go so we can keep tabs on you.
I'll be bringing the Ouija boards. I'll bring in everything. Actually, no, because it's your family home, so I don't want to be doing that. I'll be like,
well, actually, this past Halloween, she decorated the front of the house we left a bunch of our stuff like in the basement. All the cloaks from the cultists, She made like little like scarecrows and had them all in the cloaks, like with their hands holding in the front of her house. It was freaking awesome. I was like, I wish like anyone there knew what, I'm sure the locals knew what she was getting at, but like, that's fun. It was like a celebration of our film for Halloween.
I love that. That's amazing. I love hearing the fact that it was also just so celebrated in that town, because again, it really was. It was so much fun to watch. And I will be the first to say, George knows, found footage sometimes isn't my favorite, because I think it takes a lot to pull it off, not only with the director, but I think in terms of also having the actors, as it sounds, also shoulder the burden of, carrying the cameras and still having to tell a story. And I think you guys did that wonderfully. And I'm curious how much physicality you guys had to do when filming this.
Well, on top of the fact that Llana only had one good leg, like it made it even harder, because it was a real injury she was dealing with.
Yeah.
But she didn't operate the camera as much, but she did do that as well. Llana, you can talk specifically about the physicality of carrying the camera, as I only did a bit of the time.
You carry the camera while walking with a cane.
Well, yes, exactly. Mostly in the car, I think you did it.
Like one hand, yeah. The injury happened like 3 days before I left to go to Canada to shoot, and there was like nothing we could do. Like, it wasn't broken, but it was torn. And when I was at the ER, they were like, "Well, if you're not going to be around for a month, here's a big old brace, and when you get back, like, you're probably gonna need surgery." And I was like, "Okay, bye. I gotta go." Like, I didn't have a choice. And when you're working on a low budget and you've got everything already scheduled and lined up, it's like you can't afford to cancel and like lose that money, like, and then go for it again. And actually it ended up being a total blessing in disguise, because if we had shot 2 months later, COVID. That's when COVID hit. So we actually it was like it was November, right before the surge, like of February or whatever, when it all hit. So we had to just do a little bit of rewriting of the character, obviously, because now I have a broken, an impaired knee and a cane. We had to change some of the, like, I think there were more times when I was supposed to be driving and they were going to be filming me talking while driving, but I couldn't actually drive because my right leg was busted. So we had to switch that and have Lex Wilson, who's Aaron, he had to drive, and then I had to be the one operating the camera. So I think, I don't know, there were just some things like that in terms of like actual, like really physical stuff. I mean, running through snow with a cane sucks, but it was really fun. Like, I mean, it was fine. There were a bunch of times when like I even fell, and like it was, but when you're in the moment and you're acting and you're like, it all starts to feel real, and you're out there at night and it's snowing, like the adrenaline makes it that you don't even, like, I almost didn't even feel it. Like I just kept going, until we got it, and that's kind of what you have to do. You've got a set amount of time to get things. So we actually had a special cane that a friend of mine brought, our other producer, that has spikes at the bottom. It's meant for winter. Like if you need a cane and you need to walk around on ice or snow. So it like grips into the ground. And so that was pretty badass. And actually I regret that we didn't make that, and we didn't talk about that much, because those spikes are really badass at the bottom of my cane.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The in terms of like physicality with cameras and all, like I was saying, like the shots were very designed. So in terms of getting the actors to shoot what I needed them to shoot, they really had a hard job, because they have to act, they have to operate the camera, they have to react to it, they have to hit their marks, and they have to at times actually frame things very specifically. And there's a number of shots where the camera sort of just is haphazardly placed somewhere. It's not. Very often, the camera's actually handed off to me. The actor stands next to me, and then I'm placing it and holding it a certain way. Like there's the earthquake scene, there's the scene with the cars. And so there's a lot of very specific thing where we were leaving we would tape things to the bottom of the camera so that it could fall and have a certain angle for things like that. And so it was really a lot for them to keep track of and for me to keep track of. But when Llana said like about adrenaline, the whole climax with Kevin on the ground, like screaming and writhing around and all of that, we shot that basically as one take. I mean, we didn't get it in one take. It's actually spliced together from a number of them, but it was shot all the way through. And it's what, Llana, 9 pages in the script that had to all be happening with coordination with townspeople that are not actors. We had our producers outside on walkie-talkies. I'm actually in the room just on the other side of the wall with the spinning cross, like watching a monitor, watching all the stuff happening. And I remember after the very first time that they ran through the whole thing, which was like an amazing take, my heart was pumping because I'm watching this and it felt so real. And not only am I hearing them through my monitors, but I'm also hearing the feet stomping around outside. I'm hearing Llana with the blood curdling screams, and I'm hearing people chanting outside. It was like so much happening all around this tiny little house. And it was pretty awesome. Like the adrenaline is really a part of how that stuff comes together.
Yeah, it was all timed out very specifically like a theatrical performance, where you had everybody was timed to walk on their cue, all these people outside that we were wrangling. And the just before that whole sequence at the end where Aaron and I are looking for Kevin in the house and screaming, we had that earthquake sort of scene where the cabinets doors fly open and a big door slams and the chandelier starts shaking,
swinging, lights are
swinging
flickering
back and forth. We've got lights flickering, and all of that stuff was. I mean, we had like robotic springs that our special effects guy, who's amazing,
like pop open
put in the cabinet so that they could just like open, spring wide open. We had fishing line, I think, controlling the swinging lamp. Thing. We had people all around us to do other things like slam the door at the same time. We had the glass of wine. That's a fake, movie glass, sugar glass. Yeah. And it has to be yanked. It's on a fishing line, and it gets yanked, and then it has to crash into the refrigerator, and it all has to be done like perfectly. And because again, low budget, we could only afford 4 of those fake wine glasses.
Yeah, they're really
and so. And it was a very long take where, again, everybody had to be on their mark and trigger the various haunting thing at the right time. And so we were like, we only have 4 chances to get this. And we actually got it on the 3rd. And so we took that last glass and kind of like a Jewish wedding, we like put it in a fabric and stepped on it and said like, yeah, we did it. They're really expensive, you guys.
Yeah. They're like $50 a piece or something, or $40 a piece. They're really expensive.
Yeah. And it was
a sugar glass.
Or a sugar glass, yeah.
Sugar glass. Like, we just need to like get molds and start making them ourselves if we're gonna keep doing this. Now.
Just risk a real glass. Go to Walmart over there. Just go to Walmart, pay £1.
I wish we could use real ones. Yeah.
Yeah, we just didn't really want to like cut anyone for real, so we had to be careful.
And then something about that earthquake scene that like I was really concerned that it would look fake. All of the motion would look fake. I'm like, well, we could do it in post, we could try to rattle the screen. Ultimately, the cheapest, most practical solutions are the best. Essentially what would happen is Llana was operating the camera for that scene. She sets it down like on the ottoman in the Chase Lounge section of the couch. And I'm there on my knees there to make sure it doesn't fall anywhere. And to get everything to move when the camera was set down at that moment, I'm sort of stabilizing it. And then when the earthquake starts, I just start pounding the cushions next to the camera. And
make the camera bounce.
Perfect shake that felt totally organic and everything else, and it worked out really well.
Yeah
So there's your low budget tip of the day.
That's actually really I love hearing about how movies are made, and so this is just like, this is a dream come true just talking about this. And just again, I love low budget, but I also I think you all really just by hearing all this, you all really took care for this film, and it shows too. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And with both of you both wear like many hats, per se, like when it comes to making the movies that you have made. How was it that you learned how to do all these things like within the same vicinity kind of thing?
My background is in visual effects. I worked in video games for a number of years. I'm actually back doing video stuff for video games right now. Llana and I met working on video games, but as much as I learned before I officially started making films, I think Llana and I had kind of learned together a lot of this, right? I mean, she's from theater, and I went to art school as well, and I have that visual background. But we're not afraid to say, okay, how do we do this? Let's sit down and argue with each other for 3 days until we figure out how it's done.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've learned by doing, honestly, a lot of it. Before Curse of Aurore, we worked on a Hollywood production that was, you know, a much bigger budget with some actual named actors. It was a comedy that we had written, and a bigger production studio. They loved the idea, and they decided to co-produce with us and fund it and everything else. And it ended up just getting big, like bigger than we ever imagined in terms of the production, the scale of the production. And it still hasn't been released. And part of it is just that I think it got so big, and, you know, they've been working on it and editing it and stuff like that. But we spent 4 years working on that film, from the development phase to finally, you know, finishing. And both of us also do post-production work. So Mehran was editing it. I do sound design, and I score music as well. So we were doing a lot on the back end, and we learned so much. And we'd been doing it before with our own short films and stuff, but it was like 4 years of film school being on that film. And
wow.
really getting to know how the industry works. And so and hopefully that it's a mockumentary, it's a comedy, and I think it's very funny, and it should be coming out this year, we've been told. I hope so.
Yeah,
crossed.
I don't have a date exactly, but I keep hearing this year.
Yeah. So, but that really, I think, was a big learning experience for us. And so when we got off that, we were like, man, that was huge. That was a little too big. Let's do something like just kind of no frills. Like, let's just make something else and just get it out fast. Like, and I hate saying quick and dirty, but in a way, that's kind of what the goal was. It's like, let's see what we can put together, and then actually, you know, for a low budget, and see if we can sell it. And I don't think either of us anticipated, though, the gravity of the found footage community. People love this subgenre. Not a lot of people, but the people that do are like diehard found footage fans. Yeah. And so, you know, we've gotten involved with the community. You know, our Curse of Aurore, like, marketing is very much in tune with what the fans. With the fans, and you know, if people tell us how much they love us, a lot of times we'll send stuff. We send death cards to people all the time. We've got some death cards here.
Oh my god. Oh.
And, in fact, we will send you guys some for your.
Yes.
Please.
Oh my god, I will frame it and put
you.
it up in my bed. Oh my god, that's amazing. I love it.
Well, let's see. There's 3 of you. All 3 of you will get a set. So we'll do that. Yeah, but like it's just been really fun. And Mehran and I were just, because we're in development on a couple of other projects that we're really excited about. Probably not found footage, but we were just saying the other day that, you know, if we hadn't gone found footage, we might have gotten lost in the shuffle, right? Because so many people make horror movies that are not found footage, and a lot of the B-lister ones kind of just unless you're looking for them, you don't really ever hear about them. But found footage as a subgenre, there are so few of them that get released that they notice. And so it just, I'm not saying it elevates us, but it sort of separates us a little bit from the rest. And it's ended up just being really fun for us. We loved UFF. It was such a great film festival.
Yeah, those people were great.
Saw some other really great projects, got to get to know some of the other filmmakers. And yeah, I mean, the world is our oyster. I hope we get to put out some new content.
Yeah, I always get inspired doing interviews and stuff like this, like to do something else, because it's been a while. Llana and I have developed a couple of things. We just haven't gotten to the point of actually producing them. COVID sucked for that. In fact, I really do think if COVID didn't happen, this would have had a bigger theatrical, because we released in Canada during COVID, and it was the #1 movie in Quebec and Montreal for like 3 weeks or something. I mean,
that's
granted,
awesome.
It was tiny. You know, it was.
The fact that an indie found footage film even had a theatrical release anywhere, and it was in, I think at one point we were in like
It's like
20 or 30 different theaters, which was pretty great. We couldn't go up there, unfortunately, because all the borders were closed because of COVID. But now that
it would have been awesome to get it out in the States in theaters, because it was so much more fun watching it in San Francisco in that theater. Like, it was like a different movie seeing it in a room, especially like when that very first ghost, when they're in the pink room and the camera moves over and see that, I heard 10 people go, oh, and the room got silent. I'm like, yes. This is what I wanted. Like,
done it.
Next year I plan to go. We were very lucky when somebody's like, hey, we're not doing PR for this, but we can get you in contact. And I'm like, this is George's bread and butter. I go, absolutely. Give us every screener, whatever. We devoted so much to it. And this one was probably my favorite of the festival. There were, I think, 3 really strong ones, but I would have loved to have seen this on theater on the big screen.
It's
I
really
bet that
great on
was
the big
just
screen, yeah.
amazing with all like I love watching a scary film and everybody else in the audience also gets scared. It just adds to that like adrenaline rush. So I'm really happy
to see Hereditary in theaters. It was very good in theaters.
I did not,
People
sadly.
were freaking out in that movie theater. It was so good. Yeah.
Such a great movie.
So awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a question then. There were actually, even with what we saw in just over the past year, I would love to know if there were any favorite found footage movies that you all have that you've seen over the past year or so.
The past year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, over the past year, I've watched quite a few. The Last Exorcism, which I hadn't seen, and I was really surprised I hadn't seen that. I loved that.
Such a good film.
In fact,
That was really good.
I like that one because they do the docu style, and so it allows for some music, some scoring, some cool shots, some better quality audio and visual that it just felt a little more cinematic. In fact, if we do a Curse of Aurore sequel, which is in development, if it happens, it's likely going to be in
We're
that
fighting through that right now.
More docu style, I think, is the direction we'd want to go.
Yes.
But I also saw, let's see what this. Well, I rewatched Blair Witch last Halloween because I hadn't seen it since it came out, which I won't tell you my age and give that away. But
I saw it in theaters in '96. It's okay.
Okay.
No. It's probably I still reference as for its time, the marketing, everything.
The marketing was amazing.
Strong film.
Yeah.
It is, and I loved it just as much, I think, now as when I first saw it. It actually, like, I didn't sleep for a week. I mean, and I think that was kind of the first one that went mainstream of its kind. I know there were other found footage films before Blair Witch, but that one just it changed the game, and it really elevated the subgenre. And now, I mean, I almost feel like it's so hard to capture that anymore with found footage, because once you get over the initial shock of found footage and you're like, oh, it's not real, it just looks like it's real, oh, then it's not as scary anymore. So you have to get, like, I think, a little more creative nowadays. But that movie still holds up. Chronicle is my absolute favorite, though, of all found footage.
Chronicle's pretty great.
Because it's like a superhero movie, and I love superhero movies.
First Paranormal Activity is still really well done. I mean, it's just like the whole setup and the premise, like, it's so contained, and it still is very effective. Yeah, it's great.
I just saw that for the first time, like last year. George had me sit down and watch it, and I was like, if I saw that in theaters, I would have said, wow, this was impressive. Watching it at home is a little different, but I could tell, like, it would be totally different theatrical, and it would be like,
that was a fun one in the theaters.
I think watching it at home is scarier, because suddenly it makes you afraid of every room in your house. Like,
that's true.
I came home and I looked at mirrors.
Yeah. Like, I remember watching that one and, like, literally looking over my shoulder and being like, I don't like that dark hallway suddenly. Like, it's just the way they shot it.
Even though it's a terrible movie, is it Tooth Fairy? The one about the horror film about the Tooth Fairy. I still have to turn the hall light on for me to be able to walk up the stairs, because just in the back of my head, I'm like, well, what if the Tooth Fairy?
That's right. What if
the Tooth Fairy?
Like, I don't know. So, like, I agree with you. Films at home are much scarier at home.
I think so. Yes.
Especially if they're based at home.
Yeah,
well, they
right.
just sit there
and they take place in the house.
Yeah,
you can point to your own room and go, this is what would happen in your own room while you're watching it.
Exactly. And something you just pointed out there, you're talking about Paranormal Activity, and obviously it's really exciting to hear that, the product, possibly, a sequel to yours, is that something I loved about that franchise, and something that a lot of found footage films do is, and everyone will shoot me down and go, it didn't do that, but I think it did. It built quite an amazing lore within its own franchise until the last one and the one before that. We were talking about that. But what I love and there's only a few, I think, found footage films that have ever like made a franchise out of it. And I think that really adds to it, getting that lore within. There's just not many. You get all the horror sequel, all these slashers that have hundreds and hundreds of sequels, but there's not many found footage films that have a lot of sequels, and that's something that I always look forward to. And so that's really exciting that there is going to be one, and if it needs to be about a British guy who finds out about the curse of Aurore and comes over to Canada and stays in the house. I did go to drama school, guys. Okay, so
okay, here we go.
Oh, I love it.
There we go.
Well, yeah.
Well, I would like to build what I call the curse verse and have like 2 or 3
curse verse.
yes.
Oh, that would be.
Yeah,
I love. Ooh, that would be good. I'm a huge fan. I love all horror, whether it be big franchises, one-offs, all that good stuff. So I would love to also know too, aside from that, what was one of your favorite moments in horror this past year? It could be a movie, it could be a movement. I'm just curious.
Horror in the past year. Huh.
My favorite moment in horror this past year, honestly, seeing Lamb in theaters.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you guys loved it or hate it, and I know that, is it horror, isn't it horror? That movie it gave me, I don't know, it's like all the feels. Like I just felt like this sense of dread the whole time watching it. I felt cold, the wind. Have any of you guys seen Lamb yet?
I haven't.
Yeah.
Do you not like it, Yutaka?
I didn't like it.
I need to watch it again.
Yeah.
But I love the acting, and it was generally creepy. I just don't know if I got as invested, but it's beautiful.
It was totally weird and not what I expected, but I had this sense of dread the entire time that kept me like so uncomfortable. And then the way that it ended, and I was just like, like I just felt weird for hours. Like it just
kind of reached peak A24 in that movie.
I don't know. I
thought it was beautifully done. I'm kind of the same way. Is there something there, or is there nothing there? And because there's nothing there, we think there's something there. I'm not sure. For me, my greatest horror moment for the past couple of years was, I think, episode 6 of Midnight Mass. The end of it. Did you guys watch Midnight Mass?
Yes.
It was an incredible moment, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, whoa, like right at the end of the episode.
Oh, is that when she the fire?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was trying not to spoil things, but yeah. But that moment when they're in the rowboats, and I'm like, holy shit, like that was something. Yeah.
I mean, if you haven't watched Midnight Mass by now, I'm sorry, guys. That's on you, because that was you should have. It was wow.
Show.
I wouldn't have watched it. Lana's like, you got to watch this, and I'm like,
it had a lot of similarities with Curse of Aurore, where you have this, really religious, town cult, and like there were definitely some
actually about
in there that
8 years ago, Lana and I worked on a script that was surprisingly similar to Midnight Mass in many ways. In many ways. I mean, ultimately the way what it twists on is very different, but very, very similar. And it was about a town.
No vampires, but.
Well, that's not entirely true either. They weren't vampires as we think of them, but there was blood drinking.
Yes.
In the thing. Yeah. And I was, but they weren't vampires. And it was very similar.
We've all got our kinks.
What's that?
What's that?
Same, we've got our kinks.
There you go.
I'll go ahead and say, because I get some eye rolls when I talk about my favorite moment of the past year in horror, and I give this also because, one, it was just a batshit insane crazy movie, but also the fact that James Wan could go to this big studio and be like, you're going to give me the money to make the most outrageous horror film. People are going to love it, people are going to hate it, but you're going to give me the money to do what I want to do. And he put out Malignant, and I
have not seen that.
It is something else. I love it for the wrong reasons, but I know why people hate it.
I don't hate it. I just didn't. I think I expected it because there was a lot of hype, so I was like, I can't wait to see this. And then I saw it, and maybe sometimes when movies get overhyped, your expectations are too high and it's stupid.
I just one that released on HBO, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I did see that.
It was weird. It definitely was weird. I appreciate all films, honestly, because I know it goes into making them, you know, to some level. And it's like, I hate criticizing people's work. You know, it's one of these things where it's like, we all put so much into that. And even if it kind of sucks, in my opinion, at the end, like, you still did a thing, and I'm happy for you because I know it was hard, you know? Not that Malignant was that bad, but
it's so I'm used to defending it with I'm just, but I love all horror, so I agree, because I think horror is a genre that gets, well, it doesn't get the respect it deserves. So I'm happy to see whether it becomes an indie darling or a huge box office hit. I'm just happy it's getting out there, because you mentioned Hereditary, and that is still, to this time for me, one of the biggest Oscar snubs.
Oh my
ever.
God, for Toni Collette as well. Holy
shit.
yeah.
Come on. She's amazing in that movie.
I thought she had a lock, and it's because it's horror. But so I'm very happy when I get to see anything come out. Even if I don't like it, I'm still like, well, you know what? It was still fun.
Right.
There's only, I think, maybe even 2 films, but I won't name them, to where I'm like, I'm okay with that. I need that time back.
Yeah.
But I think we love horror. I think I guess what I'll end on then, and we'll all go around because sometimes it changes. What is your favorite scary movie?
Llana, go ahead.
I think it's Midsummer. Ultimately, that's what I'm gonna. Yeah, I love The Ring too. When it came out, I was in college, and it scared the shit out of me, and I couldn't sleep for days. And I did, you know, I'd say that's up there. But yeah, Midsummer, just like every time I go back to it, I just see more and more of the poetry, and I'm just like, this is so beautiful and artistic. It's a really fucked up fairy tale, is what it is, you know, and it's how a young woman blossoms to becoming a magical princess in a way, right? But it's a really warped version of that, and I love that, and the acting is so good. So that's mine.
Oh, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For me, it's a tough one. There's a number of them. I probably go back to Psycho by Hitchcock, because it's such a great noir film that sort of starts as like a heist movie, like she's robbing something and then she just falls down the rabbit hole, and then the movie's not at all about the person you thought it was about whatsoever. It just keeps changing and changing, and it's so great. But Hereditary is definitely up there. And there was one other one I was gonna bring up. Angel Heart is amazingly good, with Robert De Niro and Lisa Bonet. That's an amazing movie, and it's just so beautifully shot, and really insidiously creepy.
Love it.
So it's probably one of those 3, I guess.
George, I think I know yours, but I'll go ahead.
I mean,
and let you say it.
I wouldn't say that I'm a big fan of any film in particular, but it may be Scream.
That's awesome. I love Scream.
It's so great.
Franchise.
I'm obsessed with Scream and Nev Campbell and Sidney Prescott. So that's
he is.
I haven't seen the new one. Is it worth it? Should I?
Oh, it's great.
It's great.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Oh, you saw it too, Llana?
It's a lot of fun.
I know. I haven't seen it. I'm actually waiting till Halloween because I missed it. And I start watching horror movies. My Halloween season starts at the end of August, and I start watching horror movies all the way until Halloween. And so I'm waiting. I'm like saving a bunch of really good ones up, and it's like driving me crazy a little bit. Like the Next of Kin, I haven't seen. Anyway, I've already talked. Someone else.
Yeah. Liam, what's yours before I say mine?
It flip-flops all the time. I'm gonna say at the moment, The Loved Ones.
The Loved Ones.
Okay.
The Australian. I'm sure it's Australian. The Australian one about the young girl who kidnapped the boy for the prom.
Oh yeah, that was twisted.
Really twisted and quite graphic.
Yeah.
Loved the bit with the drill.
Oh, there's a
okay.
bit.
Interesting.
Yeah, there is.
Somebody just recommended this movie to me like a week ago, and I had not heard of it. Like I have it sitting in a tab, somewhere to watch. Yeah.
Going on my list for Halloween.
The Loved One.
I will have to. I love Scream, as George knows. But my all-time favorite is Alien, because it was the first horror film I ever
Alien's
saw.
amazing.
I was
So good.
6 years old. I shouldn't have been watching it. I also saw The Exorcist at 6, and I still to this day cannot watch that film ever again.
That's me. It's the scariest movie ever. It's just
I-
Why was your favorite?
What's that?
Never mind. So why did you say that was your favorite one?
Because it's not my favorite one.
Oh yeah, no, I
Oh.
could never. I will never. People are like, "Hey, we're gonna watch The Exorcist." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'll see you guys later." Nope, I
Movie that had an
cannot.
impact on me. Yeah.
It was. Ooh, I remember
one of
like
the
when I
best.
saw it because like my neighbors were very into religion, and they used that as a way to be like, they found out I saw it like, if you're bad, that can happen to you. I'm like, traumatized
Yeah.
me. I was like, well, I'm not hanging out with you all, and don't take me to your church.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's a classic.
Yes.
There are different ways to answer this question because, The Exorcist is one that probably had the most impact on me in terms of I will always bring it up as influence and how just how it just freaks me out to this day. The scariest one for me ever. But the way it was framed is like, which one makes you feel good? Which is the favorite one? And there are movies that are scary that are fun. Like Scream is one I remember. It's fun slasher. But it's definitely a horror movie, and it's just awesome. I understand loving it. But The Exorcist is like, there's something wrong with that movie. You know what I mean?
I'm excited to see where they're going with the new 3 films that they've commissioned.
Yeah, I
So
heard about this.
that will be interesting, but it brings back Ellen Burstyn. I'm a big fan, so we'll see. But I want to say thank you for coming on our show, talking about your amazing film, Curse of Aurore, which for those listening, watching, it's on demand. It's on Amazon. Is there a physical release yet?
There is a
so you
DVD
can
copy.
Yep, you can
Ooh,
get DVDs on Amazon.
I'll be buying one later.
And then it's free on Prime in most countries. Although if you're UK, unfortunately, you still got to
It
pay.
is not.
But but just so you know,
But it's worth
we were
buying, though.
we were
Yes,
able to get
It is.
It is.
I bought it.
Oh,
I
bravo.
watched it.
Aw, thank you.
Thank
We
you.
actually we got it on UK Amazon completely independently. That's the only territory we actually have full rights to.
Self-distribution.
So that's why
Oh,
it costs something,
wow.
because that money literally directly goes to us so that we can maybe try to make another movie. Because
Exactly.
like when
Oh,
you
well,
have a
you're welcome,
distributor,
then.
you just don't get So but for everyone else, sorry, UK, it's free on Prime, free on Tubi. And then you can also purchase it on Prime or rent it, and you can buy it on iTunes, I think, like worldwide, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think iTunes, you can get it anywhere. And if you're in the States, even on Amazon, you can get it. It's like next day shipping now. Like it's like you can get
if
it.
you buy the physical
If you
copy.
buy the physical
I will be
copy.
buying a physical
Yeah.
copy later. I love collecting all of that stuff. So, and I did really enjoy it. I mean, I'm not going to spend my money but this was honestly, I really enjoyed the festival, and I'm very happy because I feel like I was introduced to new talent, even though you all have been around. This is my first time, and I was just like, I can't wait to see what you all do next. So.
Thank you so much.
Well, and I will definitely send you guys all a set of death cards. So send me each of your addresses. We send to UK all the time, so no problem. I will be happy to deal out some death for you guys.
Oh my gosh, that's gonna creep me out, but I'm gonna love it so much.
Awesome.
Yeah, it'll go perfectly on my shrine. My housemates already think
I love it.
because I'm born on Halloween, so they already think I'm cursed anyway. So
Oh, that's the best.
they'll add to the fact they already think that I'm some sort of demon. So
You're in good company.
yes, exactly.
You're
That's why I love
in good
horror.
company. Yes, exactly.
It's never the people watching horror movies that are killing anybody. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, these are always the nicest people all the time. They're people that I would trust, to watch my apartment or something. But
I love the horror community. It's awesome.
people. I think they get their demons out on the screen.
That's
and they're
right.
fine,
Yeah.
right? I can trust these people.
The horror community is one of the best communities in terms of like, we're very new to this as well, but we've just been accepted really well. And they're just, I don't know, I feel like it's tight-knit, but everyone knows someone, and it just is about propping up the material. I mean, yes, there are times, again, like it may not be the best thing ever, but we're like, hey, movies need to be made. People's art needs to get put out there, and we just want to help support it. And I feel like there's that love.
People need to support it or it won't happen. That's pretty much how it is. I make this argument to people all the time. I understand you love that movie that you ripped off. Okay. You want more? Like, then it's just not going to happen. It's not even morality. It's just finance. It's not going to happen if you don't support it.
Very true. Yeah. When people like, oh, I'll just download it. I'm like, don't do that. That's rude.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Rent it.
I think horror might be the only genre that its fans actually look for low budget and indie films. Like, I don't know a lot of people who just are obsessed with low budget comedies, although I'm sure they exist, but I think that like horror fans, they just want to see it all and are generally like really supportive of what they see. Like too, they like it. You know, you don't mind a cheap thrill or sometimes some bad special effects. Like it kind of makes it more fun. And so it's I feel like it's a more forgiving genre too. And I love the whole world. So yeah. Let's go find some ghosts, guys.
Woo! I don't know about you guys. Go find some ghosts. I'll stay back and watch, and if I have to write your obituary, George, I can be prepared.
Thank you.
George, I'll let you finish take us out then.
Yeah, I shall do that for you. So yeah, once again, thank you so much, guys, for joining us. We've had the best time. We'll, of course, put all the info about the film and links to you guys as well in the description below. So if you guys are watching and you want to learn more, we'll put it all down below for you so you can check out if you haven't watched it already. And as always, don't forget to please like, share, comment, and subscribe, because it does really help us continue to do this and to branch out and do more. We love doing interviews with cast and creatives of horror, and it's really like what our channel has grown for recently. So we want to continue doing that. And of course, as always, if you want to, you can get our merch, which is in the link in the description box below as well. And yeah, until the next time, we will see you. Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Horror Hour. See you next time.